So a question I keep getting since starting up this YouTube channel and talking about ADHD is, how did I get diagnosed? Where do you even start when it comes to getting a diagnosis? And looking back at my journey, I've actually realised I'm one of the lucky ones. I know it's incredibly overwhelming and difficult to know where to start, so I hope this helps. My name is Jo, and welcome to ADHDefined. Okay, so it was 2020, a totally normal year. I'm scrolling through Twitter and I see a tweet that catches my eye from someone who is now a very good friend of mine. She says that she was diagnosed with ADHD at the beginning of the year. Now, this makes me a little curious because I didn't realise that adults could have ADHD back then. I know, naive. I look it up, I look at the symptoms and just think, oh shit. Stuff started to make sense from there. It was like a light bulb had gone off in my head and it was just going, yes, that is it, you've got it, finally. I voiced my concerns about me possibly having ADHD and I was met with, nah, nope, definitely not. You do not have ADHD. You just don't. So I just stopped thinking about it. I just put it away. Funnily enough, there was other stuff going on and I didn't do anything about it until almost a year later. Now, if that doesn't just scream ADHD, then I just don't know what does. So 2020 happened and 2021 looks promising and hopeful. And many more hours of Animal Crossing New Horizons later, I decided to look into ADHD again and finally do something about it. It was getting too much at this point. I got in touch with Lauren, the writer of the original tweet that perked my interest almost a year before, and I was met with immediate support and understanding. And after that, we had a long video call. We shared moments of our past, what we struggle with today, how we think and react to things, and why we felt so differently from everybody else. All I could think was, this woman is the same exact person as me. What the hell is going on? And it was honestly so weird and mind-blowing how two people who had only met once before could have this deep connection and understanding of each other. It was honestly like we'd known each other for years. And something that Lauren had said to me on our call was that every woman that she's had a deep connection to or a deep and meaningful conversation with and a complete understanding of each other had gone to her and said, I've been diagnosed with ADHD too. Lauren gave me the confidence to make that first dreaded call to my GP. So I did. I gave him a call and asked to talk about my mental health, and the anxiety that I was feeling about this upcoming appointment was next to none. All I kept thinking about was, how are they going to react? Are they going to take me seriously? Are they going to believe me? And unfortunately, these are all things that a lot of women think before going to the doctors, sadly. I typed up 3 pages of symptoms that I experience, and seeing them all typed up like that was a lot, not gonna lie, and made my anxiety even worse. I decided to finally download TikTok, and then I found the amazing ADHD community on there posting all sorts of relatable content. Whilst I was in the ADHD TikTok rabbit hole, I saw a video of someone in the UK who had ADHD explaining how you could get an ADHD diagnosis from a private company but through the NHS. This company was Psychiatry UK. There are others out there though that do offer this kind of service as well. Psychiatry UK are there to assess and help anybody of any age with anything related to their mental health. They have a huge team of doctors and nurses and can diagnose ADHD, autism and other neurodiversities. And it's all online based. I printed off their NHS right to choose forms and the self-scale assessment form and filled them in, knowing that this was the route that I wanted to go down. The day came, the doctor rang, and I was just completely honest. I said, I think I have ADHD and I want to be referred for an assessment. They started asking me questions on why I thought this, things related to hyperactivity, impulsiveness and carelessness. I had my Word document in front of me and I was listing things off and the doctor just kept going, wow. Yeah, okay, wow. Yeah, I definitely want to refer you. They wanted to refer me to my local NHS service, which turns out wasn't that local and had an 18-month waiting list. To say I was shocked was an understatement. It's hard to ignore our NHS and mental health services basically crumbling right before our eyes, but yeah, it was still a shock. I told the doctor about Psychiatry UK, and they'd never even heard of it. I said, this is the route I want to go down, and I was not prepared to wait 18 months. There was just no way. They said they would have to go over to the clinical commissioning group and talk about whether they'd be willing to cover the assessment at all, and that they would get back to me. I emailed over the filled in referral forms for them to send back to Psychiatry UK, and waited. And waited. And waited. Weeks and weeks passed, and I had to chase my doctors a couple of times because I just wasn't hearing back from them. The anxiety that I was having now was unbearable, and I was stuck in limbo. I had no idea what was going on, and as someone with ADHD, waiting and being patient isn't something we're very good at. I decided I had to make the next move, so I rang the GP to make an appointment to find out where things were up to. The doctor told me that they were happy to refer me to Psychiatry UK. Finally, I had some direction. I waited for the referral to go through, but then I heard nothing. I rang up Psychiatry UK and they had no record of my referral, so I had to chase the GP again and then make sure that my referral went through this time. Finally, my referral had gone through and I was able to book my assessment. I gave Psychiatry UK a call and they told me the next available appointment was February 2022. I think this was around June or July at this point, so it was yet more waiting. They sent me some forms that I and someone close to me had to fill in before my assessment. Finally, I had gotten what I wanted, so I could just get on with other things and move on. Wrong. Something that people with ADHD can often experience is something called wait mode, where you know you have something coming up, like an appointment, a phone call, or a meeting, and you just physically cannot do anything beforehand. You just can't. It's impossible. For the majority of 2021, I was in wait mode. I could think of nothing else other than my upcoming assessment. It literally took over my life. My hyperfocus was deep into ADHD research, and I was tackling imposter syndrome at the same time, terrified that after all this time and effort, that it might not even be ADHD at all. I even managed to bring my appointment forward to December 2021 by ringing up Psychiatry UK and seeing if they had any cancellations. That's a perfect example of if you don't ask, you don't get. So now I had a little less time to wait. Win-win. As my assessment drew closer, the days just grew slower and slower. I felt like I was getting ready to sit a massive exam. I didn't tell many people about my upcoming appointment, but was often met by confused and dubious looks when I did. The day finally came, and just before my assessment, my Fitbit actually thought I was doing exercise because my heart was beating so fast. The appointment was all done online, and the psychiatrist I saw asked about my childhood a lot because in order to be diagnosed with ADHD, you need to be showing symptoms before the age of 12. They asked about my family, my hobbies, my interests. They even gave me a list of words to remember, and then I would have to repeat back to them later on in the appointment, and I didn't do very well with that. 45 minutes in, I was officially diagnosed with ADHD. It's worth bearing in mind that every provider does things differently, so you might not even get a diagnosis on the day, depending on who you go to. First person I told about my diagnosis was Lauren. I said, "Your gal has ADHD." If it wasn't for her words of encouragement and understanding, to be honest, I'm not sure I'd be where I'm at now. The immediate feeling of validation was everything. And it was such a massive relief that I had finally gotten some answers. I was given the choice on whether I wanted to go down the coaching or the medication route, but the doctor I saw actually thought I would benefit from both. I'm still yet to start either of these treatments though. I said at the start of my video that I was one of the lucky ones, and that's because my GP took me seriously, and that my assessment was less than a year after my initial referral. But it isn't like that for a lot of people, and especially women. I've read so many stories of people not being believed or fobbed off by their doctor or by their family and their friends, or being told that ADHD isn't a real thing, or everybody is a little bit ADHD. This simply isn't true. You either have ADHD or you don't. It doesn't need to be this way. There are so many people who think that they know you better than you know yourself. If a friend or someone you care about comes to you and says that they think they might have ADHD, don't invalidate or undermine their struggles and experiences. Believe them, be supportive, and be like Lauren. And then you've also got people who say, God, everybody has ADHD, it's so overdiagnosed. No, we've always been here, we just got left behind, and now we're catching up. The pandemic made hundreds, if not thousands of people discover things about themselves, and it brought their struggles to the surface. Meaning now that our mental health and ADHD services are under massive strain and have a huge backlog of people waiting for their ADHD assessment. I mentioned back in my first video that the ADHD diagnosis journey really isn't ADHD friendly. And that's down to the massive wait times, the long and tedious forms that we have to fill in, trying to remember the symptoms that we experienced as children when we can't remember what happened yesterday. If it was up to me, I'd have every child of primary school age assessed for ADHD, autism, dyspraxia, dyslexia, so then it can be caught early. And then they're not struggling later in life and they don't know why. I don't really see much point in being angry or sad that I wasn't diagnosed earlier in my life. The information and the knowledge that we have now just wasn't there at the time. But how I decide to deal with it, that's my choice. And my choice is to embrace it positively, to make others aware of it, and to maybe laugh at it a little bit every now and again. Life is just too short not to. So, tell me, at what age were you diagnosed with ADHD? Are you still waiting to be diagnosed? How would you improve our current system? Tell me in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please go check out my other videos. There's more to come. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.